Cam Newton is cut. The Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. Mac Jones is going to throw for 7, 8, 9,000 yards. James White is going to catch 200 passes. And everyone who doesn't have 80% of every single Patriots player is dust. That is what I've learned today. And that is what we're going to get into amongst many, many other things as it pertains to NFL Cut Day. And then we're going to review some drafts from the Discord. Tuesday is usually strictly Discord draft review day. Thank you for joining as usual, but I felt it was important to dive a little bit into some of these camp cuts before we get into all the different drafts that you guys have posted in the Discord. Thank you again for doing so. Because I'm sure some of this conversation will pertain to, will pop up with some of these drafts. Obviously, I was kidding about the Patriots, but if your Twitter timeline is anything like mine, holy cow, it just certainly goes to show you we need football, guys. We need football to get here real bad because whoever was the highest on James White has been crowned the winner. We don't even need to play the games. Whoever has been the highest on Damian Harris, whoever's been the highest on every single Patriots player is the winner. It's a race to see who was the highest. But I do think it, all kidding aside, I think it is a great example of something that is the shiny new toy, right? The shiny new toy of draft season, of the preseason, of leading up until the NFL season. And I don't even remember, I don't know about you guys. It's a little different last year because we didn't have during the drolls of the pandemic, we didn't have a preseason. We didn't really have access to the teams like this, so we did have cut day and everything, but we didn't have quite as many things to really, really latch on to. But it feels like this year we are just going way too crazy over the little bit of information that we do get and whatever the latest information is. And this Patriots example is a really, really good one. And I think the market that we're playing in right now is very reactionary, which in part is accurate and makes it more efficient because we have more information and thus we should be reacting one way or the other. We should probably be reacting in some form or fashion just because having more information is helping us predict things a little bit better. However, I think what I've really started to feel, and I think we're going to see it a lot as it pertains specifically to today on camp, with all the cuts that are happening, that have already happened and are going to happen, Cam Newton being the biggest shining example, is we're probably we seem to be overreacting. And so, like I was saying with last year, it's not the perfect example, but I also don't remember this, in the fantasy football market at all. I'm sure that we reacted and overreacted in past years, but it doesn't feel like it was quite this drastic. Like I said, that's my bubble. I'm following all you crazy people out there. You guys in the chat, like my guy, all you folks, thank you for dropping in the team in the Discord, and I promise we will get to those soon. But let's talk about this overreaction stuff a little bit, using the Patriots as an example. I think, again, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I am in the minority, but the writing to me has been on the wall that Cam was going to be not gone from the team. I'm surprised he's cut, but he was not going to be the quarterback sooner rather than later. I think it was, especially once Cam had the COVID issue, I think it was really, really evident. And I started drafting a little bit of Mac Jones when it made sense on teams, in the last round or last couple of rounds, once we started to get that, because Mac was playing great. Mac has played great in the preseason. Mac has very clearly outplayed Cam, even to a greater extent than Lance has outplayed Jimmy G. It has just been so clear to me that Mac was going to take this job. I felt pretty confident he was going to start week 1, but even if that was not the case, I felt it was pretty obvious that he was going to take this job sooner rather than later. So I think the expectation already should have been, and like I said, maybe this is just me and my galaxy brain taking certain things too far sometimes. But to me, this was like the expectation that Mac was going to get this job. And so we're going nuts now that it's confirmed and that Cam is gone. And Cam being gone is definitely a factor because he's completely out of the equation now. He can't steal goal line carries, right? He can't, he can't pull a Taysom type thing and come in and really screw things up, even though he's not the starter. So that's impactful. However, I think what the real true story is that basically all the Patriots, maybe outside of Nelson Aguilar, were we're just underpriced in the market. And we've seen a huge correction on Jakobi Meyers and a little bit of James White correcting their price. Like James White was readily available, like super, super late. I posted some screenshots yesterday going through some old teams with 17th round James White or something. That was ridiculous, regardless of who started at quarterback. But I think these guys were just underpriced, and we saw Jakobi Meyers really shoot way, way up. And he was also a guy that was available in the late rounds, and he shot way, way up. And so the market has adjusted a little bit on those guys, but maybe it was still even a little bit too low. And I think it probably was still a little bit too low on James White, definitely too low on the tight ends. I don't get Hunter Henry's price at all. Like if Cole Kmet did not exist, I would have like 1,000,000,000% Hunter Henry. Luckily, I'm able to balance things out between Kmet and Henry and a little bit of Jonnu, right? Damian Harris has pretty much remained the same, whether you believe he's underpriced or not. I think he's close, but the expectation hasn't really changed to me. And I think we get really enamored with the unknown and the new thing. And Mac is very clearly an upgrade. And it really, really helps that Mac played well in the preseason. He was awesome. Looked really good and far better even than I thought he was going to look in the preseason. Me too. I've been on record as saying this. And so again, maybe how my approach has skewed my thoughts here a little bit. So I'm just talking it through so you guys can hop in and tell me if I'm being an idiot. But I just think all the Patriots were underpriced. We should have been drafting these guys all offseason. From Damian, no matter what you think about Damian Harris, from Damian Harris to James White to Jakobi Meyers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. If you like Aguilar, I'm not super personally high on Aguilar, but I get it if you are. Ramondre Stevenson now, obviously that Sony is gone. All of those guys have been draftable, and you probably should have been drafting them, particularly when they fit on the structure of your team. And so we have this new obsession as this news piles in, especially on that cut day today, where now, oh baby, Cam is gone. We've seen the data, right? They didn't pass last year. They didn't throw the ball downfield, blah, 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 blah. But now it's certain that Mac is the guy, and we know it. And so now we start pipe dreaming about what could be, because we knew what it was going to be with Cam, and it wasn't going to be pretty. So now we start Mac Jones has looked great. All the stars are aligning for us to be able to dream about this ceiling scenario for these Patriots players. And everybody is clamoring over James White, Jakobi Meyers, whatever, Damian Harris, mainly the running backs. I also find that interesting, which I'll get to in a second. Everybody is clamoring over the running backs, which is kind of funny. I think that this Damian Harris point is definitely true. No ability for Cam to vulture Damian Harris at the goal line is a very big boost to his ceiling, I think, because those touchdowns, are so important, especially in half-point PPR. Big boost to Damian Harris. It's also a boost to James White because the offense should, in theory, just get better. And even even if it doesn't get better, the ceiling is definitely better, right? We're playing for an outcome where they're better. They can't get much worse. And so there's really only potential steps forward for the Patriots. And so that's a great boost for James White. You have a quarterback that's not really a runner, that should hopefully elevate the offense, which is just good for everyone. But there's this like obsession over, oh, James, they're going to throw more, they're going to be better, so this is just wheels up for James White, which is somewhat true. And I'm more bullish on James White, and like, it's been a running bit. I made fun of Davis a long time ago with a tweet about James White, and it wasn't even really about James White. I was lower on him earlier in the year, and I drafted him still even being lower because I was trying not to be stubborn. However, Cam has targeted running backs at a very high frequency. He completed almost 70% of his passes last year, and he basically threw to two dudes, Jakobi Meyers and James White. Now, James White didn't get a ton of targets and catches because they didn't throw a lot, and their offense was so painfully slow and bad. And so that's the huge boost for James White. But from a targets per route run perspective, and maybe even from a snaps perspective, I don't know that it's a big, being on the field more, the offense being on the field more, maybe from a snaps perspective, but a snap share and all that, nothing has really changed for James White. Right? And nothing has really changed for Damien Harris other than the goal line thing. Again, because going back, I kind of thought, like, did we not think Mac was going to take this job? Am I crazy? I guess I just thought that was baked into everybody's thinking. And so I think the market might take this thing too far. The expectation is now absolutely better for all the Patriots, but I think we should have been drafting them all along. And it's the perfect example that we should get out ahead of these things. Right? Get out ahead of these guys that are underpriced. And basically every Patriot was underpriced. So let's draft them when they're underpriced. Now we get the Mac news, and it's the new shiny toy. And so everybody is going crazy over this Patriots thing when like their expectation wasn't really bumped that much. Maybe a little, but not like a ton. And now James White's probably going to go up multiple rounds. Damien Harris might move up. Jakobi Meyers might go up even more. And it starts to become a point where now we actually don't really want to be taking these guys because the season's almost here. Most of these tournaments are almost full, and all our competitors are going to have these guys at better prices. And so if they don't go up that much, I get it. But I think it's just a really clear example that we really latch on to the latest piece of news. And like I said, the shiny new toy syndrome, when actual expectations and realistic ranges of outcomes haven't really changed. And so on a day like today, we need to make sure we're keeping that in mind, right? And in these scenarios, like with Mac, who is to say he doesn't throw more to their new weapons they just paid a lot of money to? I like James White too, especially because he's a running back. He makes perfect sense in so many structures. I like Damien Harris because I do think that has improved his ceiling, mainly in half-point PPR or standard leagues. But who is to say Jakobi Meyers just doesn't become an elite wide receiver option now if Mac is good? And we know Jakobi Meyers is good. So maybe Jakobi Meyers is just a freaking alpha. And James White is still just same old James White. Who's to say that Jakobi Meyers isn't the guy that we really should be hammering, right? Everybody's so obsessed with Corey Davis, right? Corey Davis got one of the biggest spikes of the entire offseason because of all the targets he got in a few preseason games. Maybe Jakobi Meyers is better than Corey Davis, and we should be. I don't know. No one knows. We don't know exactly how this is going to play out. Not every Patriots player can have a better expectation in terms of their draft value, but they can't all pay off. Mac looks great. This offense is going to be improved. They're still going to be a run first offense. They're probably not going to be lead the league in pace. They're not going to be able to support 2 tight ends, 3 wide receivers, 3 running back. You can't support all of that as fantasy assets. So we want to, you want to pick guys where they make sense at the right cost and the right structures, and not latch on to got to skyrocket all these Patriots up my draft boards. So I want to see what the market does with these guys. I think it might become a little bit of a runaway train for us personally. That's enough on the Patriots. Your whole morning has probably, just like mine, been consumed with the freaking Patriots. And we're going to get to the playoffs of these tournaments, and the Patriots are not going to matter, right? Like, the odds are you don't need a Patriot to win one of these tournaments. I think the odds are that at least a couple of these Patriots are going to be really helpful players in your drafts at cost, but they might not be super helpful at the new cost that they get to. And so it's just the new shiny, like I said, shiny new toy. We're all excited about it. It's news to clamor to. And good Lord, do we need football? One more week. So the one thing I will say about this, I don't, that's the other thing I think is, again, it's just the new thing. And people see that now there's an actual ceiling on this offense. There's potential to be efficient. There's potential to pass more. There's definitely potential to score a whole lot more points. And so we're excited for that. But no one's projecting them to be one of the best offenses in the league. At least I'm not. They could be above average too. They could be in the top 15 or something, but they're not. Dogs are on the Patriots or not on the Patriots. So I'm not sure. You got to hold on. Someone's in my house. Gotta love it. Streaming at home by yourself. People come and rile up your dogs when you're trying to talk about the Patriots. But anyway, we talked about the Patriots enough. I get why people are more bullish. I am more bullish, but let's just be smart, I think, about how we approach it. Some other camp cut, NFL cut day news that I think is important. There's a little less, surprise cut. This guy got cut that we thought was fantasy relevant, right? That kind of already happened with Rashad Perriman. That was the big one, probably. What is interesting for anybody else holding their Latavius Murray bags is it appears he's going to make the Saints. They cut Devonta Freeman, and it appears their three running backs are going to be Alvin Kamara, Tony Jones Jr., and Latavius Murray. I don't think we can say for sure what that means. It certainly doesn't make me super excited about Latavius. I think the nut outcome for Latavius probably was getting cut just based on everything that we know right now. However, it's also possible the nut outcome for Latavius Murray was staying put and all the camp news was BS. This is interesting. We'll get to this in a second. That's very interesting. I think the Saints thing is just super uncertain. And so for me personally, I think you can take some shots if you want to diversify a little bit with some Tony Jones Jr. I guess that's okay in late rounds. I'm still not super excited for him. I think that still means there's paths to Latavius being the number 2, and all the last week or two just didn't matter. He actually is still the number 2. But I don't think I feel better or necessarily worse about the Saints situation. Just one of those I think we're going to have to see. If you're in managed leagues, you'll know pretty quick. I mean, we'll know in a week and a half what the deal is between Latavius and Tony Jones Jr. And so you'll be able to cut or scoop a guy or whatever. Again, still feel really good about Kamara. Kamara's my number 2 player. Yep, agree with this. 100%. 100%. 0 hero RBs. The Patriots were 0 in hero RB builds. Patriots running backs were awesome targets. Really, in just about any build, they fit good. They're just the perfect archetype, whichever one you pick, or whichever any of the 3 that you pick, even if you include Ramondre in that or JJ Taylor in that, whatever your preference is. I think the Patriots backs all make a lot of sense in different structures. I'll definitely be doing content as it pertains to reviews and I'll try to keep in mind as much of the stuff, all these crazy news nuggets and all these crazy market shifts. But I'll be doing daily content when the NFL season starts too. Um, let's see here. Yeah, right. I like Mac, but come on. Doubling back. So let's do the Falcons thing. Actually, I'm going to come back to the Falcons thing because I don't have a thought about it yet. Two things that are not relating specific to players like that we've drafted, but Stephon Gilmore is on the PUP and David Bakhtiari is on the PUP. Gilmore, I've seen people reacting to the Gilmore thing again, maybe a little bit more than like Stephon Gilmore is obviously one of the best corners in the league, and that's a big hit to the Patriots defense, but I think their defense is still going to be very good. Very good. So I wouldn't go in and think, this is probably more for, again, managed type leagues or DFS type stuff, but I wouldn't go in thinking like, oh baby, now we get to attack the Patriots defense. Because I don't think that's true. David Bakhtiari is interesting because, the Packers are an expensive offense in fantasy. Obviously, Davante Adams goes in the first round. Aaron Jones goes pretty much in the first round, around at least somewhere near the first round. And Aaron Rodgers was one of the biggest risers after we got rid of his retirement concerns and trade concerns. And David Bakhtiari is one of the best left tackles in the league. And at cost, we need this offense to basically do again what they did last year. Davante Adams has to do that again, or something similar at cost. Aaron Rodgers definitely has to do what he did last year at cost, where he's being drafted right now. And I think that those were already concerns that we had about whether they could maintain that and whether the regression is coming. Aaron Jones has, concerns with that as well. And he has A.J. Dillon on his heels in terms of how much is A.J. Dillon going to steal from him in terms of high value touches. Maybe he's going to catch some more balls, but maybe A.J. Dillon steals some more touchdowns. Now, if the offense also is a little bit less efficient, when you just start, when you take away really, really like they had a good offensive line. And now someone better than Brandon Thorne I'll have to double check after this what Brandon is saying about the Packers offensive line. But, it's a concern. And it doesn't maybe seem like a huge concern, but I think it's a fair concern as it relates to the Packers. So, I'm not like out on Davante Adams or Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon or MVS or any of these guys, but I think it's at least like maybe if you're breaking ties or if you already have heavy exposure to some of those guys, I think it would be a fair tiebreaker to lean elsewhere. Because I don't think we even know when Bakhtiari is going to return. And so if you miss more than half of your regular season with their offensive tackle, and things start to add up, right? You lose Bakhtiari. Now, any other injuries that start to happen, as good as Aaron Rodgers is, as good as Davante Adams is, as good as Aaron Jones is, when these things start to stack up, given the opportunity cost for them at their, ADP, I think those are some fair concerns. We haven't really seen a ton of other camp, cut day, like major impacts. I hadn't seen this one, which we can talk about really quickly. Very interesting for the Falcons. On their, they obviously cut Javian Hawkins, and Javian Hawkins also just got cut this morning by the Titans, which makes me feel better about Darrington's health. But the Falcons, this certainly lends credence to the to if you've been on Mike Davis, very much. Part of the Mike Davis fade was we expect him to get the high value touches. We expect him to get plenty of work, early on in the season, but it's possible he's a type of guy that fades as the year goes on, and maybe just, in an offense that hasn't been quite as running back friendly as being in the CMC role that he was last year. It's going to be tough for him to put up scores that over the course of the entire year that, are super, super beneficial. However, they're only keeping two guys. I guess I could swing either like one of two ways. Could mean Mike Davis is the guy and all these high value touches, and he has less concern over the course of the season that he's going to lose some of that work because there's nobody else there. Right? This is what Arthur Smith and the Titans did with Derrick Henry. They would sometimes only keep two backs with him and Darrington. Now they had some injury concerns and stuff that led them to having guys like Jeremy McNichols on the roster. But I think this is Arthur Smith's preference, actually. But they will bring somebody in, right? If something happens to Quadri Allison or something happens to Mike Davis. So it's not like you're off scot-free with one of these guys. But I do think it's a little bit of a bump for Mike Davis. But the biggest bump, it's got to be for Quadri Allison, right? It's got to be the biggest bump for Quadri Allison. I mean, Quadri Allison is like the definition of a Jag. Like he is just a guy. He is not somebody I think we should be excited about from a talent perspective. But they're only keeping two guys. This could also mean that this is just like a straight split between Allison and Mike Davis. Maybe Mike Davis is getting the passing down work, which would make sense. But this also, this also could mean negative things for Mike Davis and just really, really good things for Quadri Allison in terms of, a last round running back pick. I'm not going out of my way that I got to jam Quadri Allison on all my teams, but I do think this is real. It's interesting, to say the least. It is at least interesting as it pertains to the Falcons backfield and whether you are on or off Mike Davis and whether you are on or off Quadri Allison. I haven't seen anything on Rashad Penny. I haven't seen anything on Seattle yet. It's still early out there. I don't actually know what the time, the news just seems to kind of flow in throughout the day. The news just seems to flow in throughout the day. I think this is where we're trending. That this is where we've been trending. That Alex Collins is the backup, but that also doesn't really mean anything, right? We just saw with the Saints thing. Who knows what that means? So who knows really what all this stuff means with Rashad Penny. But I think that is the majority of the camp stuff. I wanted to get out in front of a couple of those things just because I think they're important to talk about. And I am certain that we will get more throughout the day. Although I'm not sure how many, we always get surprise cuts, but I guess that Perriman was the big one there for me. And Cam, obviously. I think Cam was a pretty surprise cut, but I'm not certain there's a ton of other situations that we haven't seen play themselves out. But we'll definitely keep an eye on that. All right, let's look at a few drafts, Let's look at some drafts. Get away from the camp nonsense. Stop talking about the Patriots. Get into what we normally do here. Let's share my screen and start trying to dive into some of these teams. I also forgot where we left off last week, so I apologize if I miss. This one has an insane team. Let's see. We're just going to start somewhere, guys. I apologize if I miss your team. I think this is about close. I hate this. Zoom. All right. Underdog team. You guys got to learn how to do the screenshots on Underdog. Killing me with a double screenshot. Anyway, 2592, Trey Lance, Baker Mayfield, Antonio Gibson, anchor running back is nice. Connor Fitz, Hines Fitz, Phillip Lindsay, and Darrington Evans. I like it. What did we have? We had Lance and Baker. Okay, Baker backdoored a little Baker to DPJ, and you got the Lance, Ayuk, Debo stack there with Hawkinson and Henry. This is nice. And you got a little, ancillary Will Fuller, Parker, Dolphins stack, which you might have gotten sniped on Tua or something. That's why you ended up with the backdoor Brown stack. But if you did, that's awesome. That's how we adapt during these drafts. You set up this perfect Lance, Tua, Dolphins, Niners double stack, and it didn't work out perfect, but that's okay. you still have your Dolphin stack, and now you can backdoor another stack. And a great structure. Awesome team. Oh, took Connor over Tua. Yep, see, there we go. Took Connor over Tua, which I think was totally fine. Push the limits on Tua. Don't reach on Tua to complete your stack. Connor was important to this team in this hero structure. And then you were still able to get a Baker stack. It's nice. Just drafted the Puppy 3 winner, AMA. Lamar and Hurts. Hurts at 131 is nice. Hurts at 131 is nice. Eckler hero. You guys are all in on the structure that I definitely like here, and really, really good players. I mean, this is nice. Eckler is your hero. You got 2 upside bets, and obviously AJ Dillon. And AJ Dillon at 107 is nice. He has risen far past that. Now he is never available at 107 in any draft that I'm doing. And then you get these nice pass catchers to kind of mix in with your upside bets in Gio and James White. I love it. And Darrington, another upside bet late. And you get first round Diggs. Let's see. What do we have? Lamar and Hurts. So we got the Lamar, Hollywood, and Andrews. And naked Hurts. No, Hurts to Goddard. Hurts to Goddard. And again, Goddard is plummeting. That's not. This is nice. Really nice. Great team. My favorite team yet. We'll be the judge of that, Nick. We will be the judge. Lance and Mostert. Oh, man. So the Lance and Mostert thing is really funny because I don't, I've been on record like not totally loving my QB with my running back. I know Mostert is, in theory, the pass-catching back, but I also don't know how often they're going to throw to their running backs, especially once Lance gets in there. But Lance and Mostert are this weird correlated upside bet where I know now I'm the one latching on to the new thing that we saw in the preseason. But I also kind of felt this already that, I mean, Lance and Mostert are such a perfect bet, such a perfect pairing of guys. What Lance provides as, the zone read-esque, the running quarterback, what he does to defenses to keep them honest on the read is just so perfect for Mostert because you can't give up a half step to Mostert with his speed around the edge. And we saw that in the preseason game in just a few carries. I mean, my God, Mostert is just running wild and running past the defense because they have to hang for just another split second because Lance is giving them the read look. And baby, Mostert. I was already really high on Mostert, and I think I'm even higher now, although I think the market is a little bit higher too. But definitely Lance, Mostert, Dillon with Tyreek, Nuke, McLaurin, Ayuk, Higgins, Boyd. I assume you probably got Burrow here. Let me see. Higbee, Chenault, Hines, Big. Okay, so but still didn't get Burrow, and it's totally fine. Now same thing. Sorry, I should have looked. Okay, Baker. Did we get a backdoor Baker? Backdoor Baker Higgins. See, so exact same thing. You guys are doing the sharp thing, right? You probably prefer DPJ, but still, go get the backdoor with Higgins. Oh, and you have Hooper. So you get still get a Browns double. Mix in Hines, Gio, Tojo, good old Tojo, and Ty Johnson. Awesome fits with this structure. Love it. Beautiful team. And the receivers are just sick. Love your receivers. Little worried about your running backs. Love that team, Nick says. My last Puppy 2 slow draft. Good Lord. Puppy 2 slows are still going on. Oh, Mike Davis at pick 76. Let's see. Little Rodgers to Devontae. What else we got? Ooh, Pitts. I'm going to like a Pitts. Pitts at 52 is nice. Okay. Devontae in the first, A.J. Brown, McLaurin, Pitts, ETN, Visca, Mike Davis. What we got? Oh, and Fitzpatrick. Okay, so Fitzpatrick to McLaurin is nice. Rodgers to Devontae is nice. Obviously, bearing the lead that ETN is there, but that's okay. You can still win with this team. You can win this league with ETN. You hurting a little bit for the playoffs? Probably. You hurting a little bit for the playoffs? Yeah, Nick. Little worried about your running backs. Great receivers, though. Next time, think about spending a little more draft capital on your running backs. But seriously, that was a fun team. Yeah, I mean, so this ETN thing, this team is just awesome if if ETN doesn't go down, I think. But such is life, right? I got plenty of ETN teams. And like your ETN, like I said, your ETN teams aren't dead to advance. They might not even be dead to like make it out of the first round of the playoffs. If you build them with a good structure, they're probably hurting. You're probably not winning the million with an ETN team, but I think you can still make money. Let's see what we got, Camden. Ooh, a little too. Another anchor RB team with Antonio Gibson, which is playing to my heartstrings. CeeDee Lamb, obviously love CeeDee Lamb. Kelsey in the first round. Kupp, Chase, Boyd, Sutton, Pittman, Rondale, just smashing, just like you should here. Take a detour for Edmonds. This is the crazy thing about DraftKings is you can take these detours, man, and you're still getting 12th round wide receivers that are like 8th round picks on Underdog. It's pretty crazy. DraftKings is pretty crazy, but the Burrow double and a little Week 17 game stack with Travis Kelce. And what we see, Jamal, Madison, Damian, awesome running back picks, Booker, and then punt off your tight end too. And I guess is Teddy's the QB too? Yes, man, that's the difference is and I like Teddy fine actually, especially you have Sutton, right? Yeah, you have Sutton. So like I kind of like Teddy as a QB2, especially on DraftKings because like it's so easy to get locked out of quarterback on DraftKings. I mean, the rooms are so hard to judge there because they do not always stick to the old ADP. Hyper fragile puppy 3 slow draft. Oh baby. Oh yeah. Robust RB, Kamara, Chubb, Najee. Okay, so here's the one thing I'm going to say about when you go with hyper fragile, especially when you draft Rodgers. You need the wide receiver quantity. I would not draft Tyler Kroft or Ryan Fitzpatrick on this team. And I would draft 11 wide receivers. Because you just need, like, you're running really thin. When you use your first 3 picks on running backs, you're already out of the super elite tier of wide receiver, right? Your first wide receiver is Deontay Johnson. Your second wide receiver is Odell Beckham, which can be fine. If you watch the draft that Evan Silva and I did on Friday, we went like super robust, but we drafted 12 wide receivers. We did 12 wide receivers, in a big dog now, obviously. 2, 4, 12, 2. But once you've committed, you got to get the wide receiver quantity. And so maybe if you wanted to take the third tight end, if you don't feel as comfortable with Tunyon Kmet, I think you should feel comfortable with Tunyon Kmet as your only 2 tight ends. But if you don't and you want to take the third tight end, I definitely think you can't take Fitzpatrick on this team. You just need the wide receiver quantity. Other than that, this looks good. Putting Lazard on there, Lazard. Why did I say Lazard? Putting Alan Lazard on there is nice. Getting Cobb to backdoor your Rodgers stack with Tonyan, right? Something happens to Devontae and it's wheels up for these guys. Might not be wheels up for Rodgers, but wheels up for these guys. So it's extremely close to a good team. I personally think you need a little bit more at wide receiver. Even though those late wide receivers like feel gross, you just need the shots on goal at wide receiver. Found a squad with Henderson and J Rob. My one J Rob share. That's how I feel too. Like, oh, please let my couple of closing line value teams on Henderson be good. And this one, nice. See that it is also always nice to either have done it with like when you had James Robinson or Henderson, like late round those of those guys, or Gus now. If you had late round those guys, you always hope that it's like on a hero RB team or on just on a really well structured team. Ideally, it's probably like hero RB or zero RB because that's right. That's where they'll give you the most value. And so that's what's nice to have this, right? Edmonds and then Robinson. And then I think you said Henderson. And so you actually still have three really good, usable running backs at a cheap cost. And you got to get the Diggs Allen stack. You got to get Ridley, Kupp. You got an elite tight end with Kittle, right? Visca, Rondale. What else we got? The old Daniel Jones. Got it. It always feels so gross having to backdoor Daniel Jones because you get run out of quarterback. But I mean, the rest of this is nice, right? Traquan much later than he was going. Get the Bills double with Manny Sanders. Even late round Ramondre is nice. And obviously, when KJ Hamler was going in the 19th, 20th round, that's really nice. So fun team. I would be excited about that. Most fragile. Oh yeah. Did you cut off your quarterback? Oh, Lawrence and Tua and Tonyan and Kmet. See, there's a team that just did Tonyan and Kmet as two quarterbacks, and Lawrence and Tua. So we got the Lawrence Visca stack with the and a little Carlos Hyde, which I'm not sure I would call Carlos Hyde in my stack, but makes sense. Tua, Fuller, Devontae Parker is very, very nice. The receivers look great. And most people are not going to pull up a team that has, Eckler, I obviously like, but then you're not going to pull up a team that has Philip Lindsay, Rashad Penny, Carlos Hyde, and Savon Ahmed. And they're like, yeah, I like it. But I think that these kinds of teams, whether it ends up being these guys or not, right? I don't personally feel very good about those four running backs, but that's not the point. The point is you built a structure around that anchor running back and mixed in four fragile running backs of your preference, all at fine values. And, you do that as many times as it makes sense during your drafts. Build the right structure and hope that the structure wins and you just get lucky on whichever players, right? Maybe I'm wrong about Philip Lindsay. Maybe Rashad Penny is still the running back too, right? Maybe Savon Ahmed ends up taking a step forward. Maybe Myles Gaskin goes down, whatever. It's really nice. Let's see what we got, Rob. Dak, love the falling Dak value. First thing I'll say is I see Dak, Matt Ryan, but it's a 3 QB team, so I would not do the third quarterback. Tyrod, definitely not. I would definitely not do Tyrod on a team with Dak and Matt Ryan. I would not do a third quarterback at all, period. But Tyrod is getting you nowhere with this team. He's never going to be in your lineup. He might not even be the starter for them for the whole year. I would never personally draft Tyrod, but if people told me they wanted to draft Tyrod, like, okay, maybe he does hold this job the whole year, and I got ran out of quarterback. I have 3 crappy quarterbacks, and I just needed a guy to mix in there. Or like, again, maybe I got ran out of quarterback, and I have Trey Lance as my QB1, and I don't know exactly how much he's going to play to start the year, or Justin Fields. And I want to use Tyrod. That's fine, but Tyrod is just a wasted roster spot on this team. Other than that, though, James Robinson and Henderson. So it looks like this was, so the other concern here with this team is that it looks like you took Robinson and Henderson after their, after their situations, right, had changed, obviously, and after their ADP had risen like a ton. And so that can be okay depending upon the contest that you're in. That can definitely be okay depending upon the contest you're in. I'm not sure that there was a contest that is opened, however, where it made sense to buy both of those guys after their ADP shot up, because I think they're pretty much every tournament that was up, maybe the $6 on DraftKings or maybe the second single entry. I can't remember exactly. There might be a tournament, but I don't think there's many instances where you want to be buying, third round James Robinson and fifth round Henderson after they've already moved up, because you're going to be playing against so many teams that have them later. Henderson probably is fine. Depending upon the contest, but I'm not sure about Robinson. Anyway, Dak, Amari, Gallup. I love that stack, and I love the Dak value. Obviously, Diggs and Ridley is fun. Galladay, I think buying the dip on Galladay is fine. I'm not super bullish on him, just like in general, but I think, how is he that much different than all these other wide receivers going in the 80s and 90s now? So I think that's more than fine. You get Tony Pollard, which I like as another correlated bet with Dak, and you have Matt Ryan to Ridley. Connor is another running back that made sense. So you got upside plays here at running back. Jared Cook with Gesicki and Jarwin. Okay. I don't hate really most of this player selection, right? You even got a little Lions bet here. I kind of like those, like whether it's Hawkinson and Swift or Tyrell, Amon-Ra, last round Cephas, or last round Khalifa Raymond now, right? That Perriman is gone. The Lions should be chasing a lot. And I don't think we want to be taking Jared Goff personally, but if the Lions are giving up a ton of points and chasing, there can be fantasy goodness on the other side in like a game stack scenario. So I don't mind pairing some Lions. So there's maybe a couple things, Rob, that I would personally change, but that's just me. More Rob teams. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. So again, I think if I were you, I would visit this structure a little bit. You have an elite quarterback and you have an elite tight end here with Kyler and with Mark Andrews. And taking 3 when you've spent that kind of capital on those guys, I think is going to hamstring you at these other positions. And then you took 7 running backs when you drafted Kamara and Mixon. And so, your wide receivers are just going to be real thin. Like, I know the first few seem okay, but you're going to need the depth at wide receiver. You're going to need the depth at wide receiver to only have 7. Only having 7, I think you should probably have more than 7 on any DraftKings team, given 20 rounds, given full point PPR. But like, I wouldn't even argue, if you like started with 7 wide receivers and you only wanted to take 7 or something. There's probably scenarios where you could argue it. But when you took a first round running back, a second round running back, a 5th round quarterback, 4th or 5th round quarterback, 5th or 6th round tight end, your wide receiver, like you're going to have the worst wide receivers in the league, which can be okay. Can be totally fine. I have teams that have done that. But then you need to take quantity at that position. And so I just don't think you want to take the 3rd quarterback and the 3rd, we have Taysom and Tua. Like, Taysom isn't doing anything for you on this team. And honestly, neither is Troutman or Frickser, if you prefer one of the two. And there are times where 3 quarterback builds make sense or 3 tight end builds make sense. Even maybe when you take more of an elite guy, like even maybe when you take Andrews, there's times, maybe like you said, like you have here, you backdoored a Saints stack, which I actually think can be totally fine, right? Michael Thomas buying the dip on Troutman, and you got Taysom. I think that if you have Andrews and you want to do something like that, that's fine. But then I would forego a Tua or something like that. You just need to make some sort of a swap to get a little extra wide receiver firepower. But it's really actually not that far off. And I think the only time where you went wrong was like from Tua on. Everything was totally fine up through like AJ Green, and then from Tua on, I would be mixing in some wide receivers over the Justice Hills, Firksers, Troutmans, Booker, etc. Yeah, this is a good. I get it. Trust me, I get it. It sucks. But if you're assuming you're drafting multiple teams into these contests, you got to draft like each one of them to maximize that upside. And I get, that feeling of being burned. Trust me, I got burned on plenty of teams last year. Dak was one of my highest owned quarterbacks. I'm trying to think of, I was still, I have early Chris Herndon teams again this year, and I drafted Chris Herndon last year too. But like, you get burned on. It could just be not even just that they got hurt, just that something happened to that guy. But we want to maximize the teams that we don't get burned on, right? As opposed to handicapping teams, right? Like if Andrew stays healthy, you don't want Troutman on this team. If Kyler stays healthy, you don't want Taysom on this team. You want to be able to use those picks and maximize for the scenario in which these things went right for you. So I definitely get it, but that's that would be my feedback. So similar thing here. I think you get the picture. And same thing here. You took Noah Fant. You don't need four. You don't need four tight ends. Got two quarterbacks here, but same thing. The other thing here would be with running backs. Even if you do want to take three tight ends, you don't want to take four. I'll tell you that. But even if you do want to take three, I think that's totally like nothing is completely rigid, right? As it pertains to any specific position. You want to take three quarterbacks, because you want to add in that stack. I think that there's absolutely merit to that. This is just my personal preference on how I would approach it. But I think if you want to have a third stack, I think that that's okay. If you want to have a third tight end, especially when there's 20 rounds, I get that. So like, I totally get that point. What I actually think is the bigger thing with these teams is when you invest, a first and a second round pick on a running back, and then you especially invest another pick like with Myles Gaskin, and even another pick with Kenyon Drake, you can't take 7 running backs. You can probably easily overcome 3 tight ends or 3 quarterbacks, and you might even be able to argue it's better to have the 3 at that position when you invested a lot in early running back, but you can't also invest a lot early and invest a lot in quantity. See if we can hit a few more here from this morning. Try to rapid fire a little bit. Try to rapid fire. 2, 5, 11. 2. See, here we go. This is nice. See, here's what I'm talking about. Took Kamara early, took CEH early, and then kind of dabbled with Melvin Singletary and Jamal Williams, and then stop. It's over at running back. You're done because you want to be using Kamara and CEH's score, and maybe the couple times you don't, you've got these other middle round fallback options, right? Melvin Gordon, Jamal Williams, whatever, Devin Singletary. That's perfect. Now leverage that, especially when you leverage, when you used a fairly high pick on Russ and a 3rd round pick on Kittle. Those are great picks. 2 of my favorite guys at their position. Now you use that, the fact that you used a 1st round pick on a running back, a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick on a running back, and a 3rd round pick on a tight end, and a 6th round pick on a wide receiver. And now let's just hammer, a 6th round pick on a quarterback. Now let's just hammer wide receiver, right? Just give me Lockett, Higgins, Debo, Samuel, Pittman, Beasley, Rager, Diami, Djax, Pringle, Cole, right? You're just stacking them up because you need as many as you can get when you didn't invest a lot of high draft capital in it. So that's really nice. That's really nice. Let's see what we got here, Rob. CMC. Okay. CMC, wait, and you use Harris as that second back, and Rojo, Carter, White, and C. So that's where I would probably stop at James White and not add on Tony Jones here. But this is close. And then we got Big Ben. Yeah, Cam, that hurts. Cam Hurts, and 3 tight ends. So again, the 3 quarterback, 3 tight end thing is the one thing I would make sure you're having enough firepower at definitely at wide receiver in these builds. But the opposite would be true if you didn't invest. If you started with 6 wide receivers, you need to make sure you have enough firepower at running back too. Just making sure that where you lack quality in terms of draft capital, you need quantity in terms of overall number of players at that position. All right, sorry, Rob. I gotta get somebody else in here. Ooh, standard league time, baby. I am not the expert in standard leagues. So I'm putting that caveat out there first. But we got a little, looks like 0 RB team. I don't know when you drafted. Oh, Gus 83rd? Gus 83rd overall. I think that's more than fine, especially, you get Devontae, Ridley, Jefferson, Kupp, Higgins, and Superflex with Dak and Herbert. Yeah, Gus is more than fine in the 9th round. Obviously, Dylan. I love Dylan. This is nice. I like the 49ers D. Got a little Trey Lance action in there. Let's see what we did the rest of the way. Jamal Williams, Gio, Tojo. This is nice. This is a fun team. Really fun team. Lance and Cousins for some more. Rondale and Terrace, Callaway. That's an awesome team. Let's see what we got going on here. Back to some underdog. A lot of DraftKings teams in a row. Back to some underdog. 3-3-9-3. So you guys know this is some fragile shit at running back, and you know damn well that I love that. Chubb, Saquon, almost stop. And then what's real gal-brained about it is it's leveraging against CMC. I prefer if I only have 3. I'm me and the anti-bye week stuff. I would say I do prefer if I only have 3 to have them spread out across 3 different bye weeks. So I will say that. And this is some real gal brain stuff, with Chuba as your last running back in a 3 RB team. Even I can't personally go that far, but I like experimenting with crazy stuff like this. However, I want to leverage the fact that I only took 3 running backs with wide receiver quantity. And I get, the idea of, okay, you pushed the 3rd running back so far that maybe 9 receivers can still make sense. But I do struggle with it a little bit, because Logan Thomas is an 8th round pick and Russ is a 7th round pick. So the wide receiver firepower is a little bit light still, but I get what you were going for. And I like the aggressive approach here. This morning, Larry, last one. Pretty perfect timing. Last one. Kyler and Mac, nice. Got in on the Mac action. 0 RB with Ronald Jones, James Conner, Devin Singletary, Jamal Williams, Chuba, and Justice. Beautiful archetypes, beautiful mixture of players, in my opinion, on a 0 RB team. Diggs, Nuke, Woods, DJ Moore, Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Nenji. And then even your later round receivers. I love it. Paris Campbell, KJ Hamler, Logan Thomas with Mo Alley Cox. Who were the quarterbacks? Kyler to Nuke and Mac. Unfortunately, I would really prefer to have Mac stacked. I get he was super, super late, so it's not a big deal. And you have an elite quarterback already, so not a big deal. But, Mac really isn't going to run a ton. So I would kind of prefer, James White, Hunter Henry, Jonnu, Jacoby, Aguilar, even Kendrick Bourne, JJ Taylor, whatever. I would prefer a little bit of extra Patriots correlation there. Yeah, I think I get the idea of the 3 team. Not this one. I know this was about the team before, Nick. I get the idea about the 3. I think I would want to. It's really crazy. I'm not throwing out any of these super galaxy brained ideas. They're definitely interesting, right? If you get a week 3 CMC ACL tear, this is sick. I think you're drawing a little bit too thin in terms of what you're shooting for, and I know we're really shooting for first, and so I get the idea. It's maybe a little bit too out there for me, which is maybe something I don't usually say, but you guys get me every single week. You guys have something that it's at least interesting, and I like that we're having the conversations about these kinds of builds and these kinds of structures, because it pulls us all out of our comfort zone and gets us away from kind of the robotic nature of how we just keep doing these drafts and keep clicking the same things and the same structures and the same players. And so I think it's pretty fun. Before we wrap, Greg, I think we're starting next week. I've been busy. Blender and I have definitely started talking heading into the DFS season. I will still be doing my DFS work. So, I'll still be like full-time basically on Best Ball and Spike Week stuff. Definitely going to be doing in-season NFL stuff. They're definitely going to be dropping new contests so Best Ball season is not over when week 1 gets here, and NBA will be coming very soon. So I'll be, full head of steam on Best Ball for NBA. Hopefully we'll be able to even get like some NHL stuff up. And then definitely, again, baseball will be coming soon. And then we'll just keep this Best Ball cycle going for all the sports, which I expect Underdog to be killing it on all the sports and all the different kinds of contests. However, for DFS, I will still be doing the grind on Roto Grinders. I'll be doing a lot of NFL content. I can't announce everything yet. We're not announcing it yet. All my content and stuff will be up on Roto Grinders, and any podcasts I do for DFS for Roto Grinders will be on the Roto Grinders Daily Fantasy Football feed. Roto Grinders Daily Fantasy Football podcast feed. I combine feed and podcast into peed, which is probably not great. Disclaimer, PG-13 warning. So yeah, the DFS stuff will be on RG, and Blender and I are doing I am coming back to the Theory of DFS podcast for NFL DFS season. So we got a lot going on. Everything here at Spike Week, everything at Roto Grinders, the Theory of DFS. Thank you guys for sharing all these drafts. They're so much fun to go through. Super quick housekeeping. We have still the Drafters promotion going on. It's going on all the way up until the season. If you sign up on drafters.com, use promo code SPIKEWEEK, you will get a 25% deposit bonus up to $100. So if you deposit $400, you would get $100. That's the specifics of that. But you have a 25% deposit bonus on any deposit, again, up to $400. And you'll be entered into our exclusive, only ones out there, Spike Week $5,000 free roll for every time on Drafters you enter into their $11 Best Ball Championship 2. Assuming you have signed up with promo code Spike Week, you'll be entered into our tournament within a tournament, where we'll track it on spikeweek.com. There's across the top menu, there's a Drafters contest leaderboard. And every week, every Monday during the results recap, I will pull up that leaderboard and we'll see the tournament within the tournament. So every one of your $11 entries into Best Ball Championship 2 is automatically entered into our free roll. At the end of the year, the top 3 in that free roll will make their share of $5,000, $2,500 to first, $1,500 to second, and $1,000 to third. And you'll get paid out on Drafters in your Drafters account. The other thing is, if you're in the Discord already, if you're not in the Discord, make sure you go to spikeweek.com and click Discord and sign up to get into the Discord. The conversation is crazy. You guys are awesome. So much fun conversation. I learn something new every day from you guys, and there's just really insightful conversation constantly. But we're also a week from yesterday. So next Monday, I'll be doing a live stream where we're giving away tickets, one big dog ticket on Underdog. So yes, if you have not been able to enter the big dog, maybe it doesn't fit your bankroll, we'll be giving away a ticket to the big dog, as well as 5 tickets to Best Ball Mania 2 and 10 tickets to the Drafters Best Ball Championship 2. All you have to do to enter is invite people to the Discord. Really simple. Go into the Discord, click invite, and send that out to whoever you want, your buddies, friends, family, dog, sister, wife, ex-wife, grandma, grandpa, whoever. Send it out to your friends and family. Every single person that joins from your invite, you'll get an entry into. So if you invite 500 people and they join the Discord, you get 500 entries into the drawing for those tickets that I'll give away on Monday. Those are the two big promos. Thank you guys for hanging out. Oh, 1 second. Yes. If you already signed up, you can still put the promo code in for your like deposit again, right? Deposit $5, $10, $20, $100, however much you want to deposit, and use promo code Spike Week. If you're already signed up, it'll still count. You'll still get entered. From every point there forward, your $11 entries will go in. So even if you already have a Drafters account, even if you've already deposited, you can still get entered into the free roll. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. This was a ton of fun, tons of information, tons of drafts. Like I said, I learned something from you guys every day. Tomorrow, we are back with the happy hour. It's been a lot of fun doing the happy hour. If you haven't had a chance to join and hang out yet at the happy hour, 5 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, all the Spike Week folks come, we hang out, we shoot the shit, we have a good time, maybe have a drink or two, chat best ball. Season's almost here. For me, for Damian Harris, for James White, for all the Patriots people, I'll see you guys tomorrow at happy hour.